What will it do for the Raiders' draft plans? Now, I don't think the contract impacts the draft plans. I think they'd already decided they weren't going to go Shedeur Sanders at 6. I don't know that they're going to be lurking for one of the lower-tier guys round 2, round 3, when they gave up the third-round pick to get Geno Smith. But round 2 is a possibility as well, 37th overall. And they do have another third-rounder because they sent the Devontae Adams third-rounder to the Seahawks for Geno Smith. But I just don't think it changes. Whatever they were thinking of doing, I don't think this changes it, especially if it's only a one-year commitment. They could have been thinking about a quarterback before, and if it's a one-year commitment, they could still be thinking about a quarterback. And if anything, Charean, the contract gives them cover so that people drafting behind them won't be looking at the board saying, hey, the Raiders may be thinking quarterback. We need to jump them if we want to get this guy that we'd like to have instead. So I don't think it changes anything other than it makes it appear less likely they'll do it. If they were likely to do it, if this is just a one-year commitment, they're still likely to do it. If they weren't, they still aren't. I think it changes nothing about whatever their pre-existing mindset was.
Well, and I think this is why they went and got Geno, because they didn't like the quarterbacks in this draft. They may very well draft a quarterback, but it's not going to be in the first round. I think I'm going with the betting favorite, Ashton Jenney there. He makes so much sense for them. Pair him with Raheem Mostert. You've upgraded your running game. Brock Bowers was fantastic last year. Should have probably gotten more votes for Offensive Rookie of the Year than he did. He got one. I know Jaden Daniels was great, but Brock Bowers was fantastic as a rookie.
Wait. I mean, I
said
agree.
More votes. I didn't say he should win.
He was second place. You put him second on your ballot.
Vote.
You put him second on your ballot, didn't you? One person voted for him for first place, and it wasn't Tom Brady. Okay. I'm trying to protect you, Cowboys fan, from getting a bunch of nasty tweets from Commanders fans for dissing Jaden Daniels. Or
I had
you'll hear
Jaden
it
Daniels number 1.
All right, but you said Bowers should have gotten more, and you only get more if Jaden Daniels gets fewer. And I'm just trying to save you. I'm trying to save you from the social media hate.
Maybe he should have gotten all of the second place votes. He didn't get all of the second place votes, I don't think. So he should have gotten all of the second place votes. So he should have been a closer second. Anyway, Brock Bowers is fantastic, set all kinds of records. I just think this offense would be so good with Ashton Jenney in it. It would be a huge upgrade. They're going to be very good on offense if they get Ashton Jenney. I think that's the way they're going. It just makes so much sense.
You know, Chris Sims had some interesting points yesterday about Ashton Jenney, and he's taken a deep dive looking at all the running backs. He's got a concern that if you get Jenney against NFL-caliber competition, he's not going to be as special as he was when he was playing the Boise State schedule. And the one key came from what the film looked like against Penn State, which has quasi-NFL defense. He wasn't as explosive against Penn State as he was against the lesser teams. And that's the toughest projection to make for any of these guys going from college to the NFL. Can the best things that they did at college be replicated? Or have they gotten to the point where they're going to hit their ceiling? And it's the size, and, you know, he hasn't run the 40, and CJ 2.5K, we're trying to change his nickname. CJ 2.5K said on Chris's podcast that he looks like he's a 4.55 guy. So I'll defer to one of the fastest guys to ever play when it comes to sizing up how fast someone else is or isn't. But if they're not looking at quarterback, it frees them up to do whatever they think they need to do. And they do have a great piece, a foundational piece, one on each side of the ball. Max Crosby on defense and Brock Bowers on offense. And they got to build around it. And I applaud Mark Davis for being self-aware on at least one thing, the state of his team. Because you're not making it to the top of that division. Not with the Chiefs. Not with the Chargers, not with the Broncos. I think Pete Carroll is going to provide a boost, but they're a couple of years away from being truly competitive. And they've got to make some moves and add some players and hope some of their draft picks pan out. They just have a lot to do. They will be better, though. And I think any talk that they can't get to the playoffs right away becomes fodder for motivation for Pete Carroll personally and for his players through him. But I'm with you. I doubt that they're going to take a quarterback. Pete's going to want players who come in and help make a difference right away. And it takes me back to when 5 weeks ago we found out Matthew Stafford was staying with the Rams. The reports started to come out that the Raiders were looking at some of the veterans, Sam Darnold, Russell Wilson, pretty much everyone but Aaron Rodgers. But that John Spytek, the new GM, and Tom Brady, the de facto guy in charge, they weren't thrilled with any of the veterans. The coaching staff wasn't thrilled with any of the rookies, so Geno Smith became the compromise 1 week after that. And in hindsight, it all makes sense. So I'm with you. Geno Smith is the guy probably for at least 2 years. It's going to be on him to earn a third year. It's going to be on Pete Carroll to earn a third year. If it goes well, we'll see him stick around a little longer. If it doesn't, they will have moved on to someone else, maybe a guy they draft, Charean, back to your original point, next year, not this year.
Yeah, I think next year's the year you draft a quarterback if you're the Raiders, and it may be a better draft class of quarterbacks than what we've got this year. We'll see. You never know. I mean, as we all know, Mike, scouts don't get the quarterback position right. They draft guys too high, and then a Brock Purdy or a Dak Prescott or somebody else comes along who was drafted on the third day who's a good quarterback. So they don't always get these things right. So maybe this quarterback class is going to be better than we think. But based on what the scouts have said, this is not a great quarterback class, and maybe it's better next year, and they'll go get their quarterback to replace Geno Smith at some point.
I'm a firm believer quarterbacks are always going to get overdrafted because the upside is too great if you find a franchise quarterback. The problem is the higher a guy is drafted, the more pressure and expectation is on the entire organization to get him out there and justify why you made him such a high pick. And there is benefit in not being a first or a second round pick at the quarterback position. You can develop under the radar. This was something Michael Hawley pointed out last week, and I thought it was brilliant. I'd never thought of it, and I mentioned this on our PFT text chain. Where have the quarterbacks taken in the later rounds who are groomed quietly for a few years and elevate to starter? Where have they gone? That doesn't happen anymore. The quarterbacks who are potentially going to be effective starters get overdrafted and thrust into the fray, and we don't see guys develop quietly like a Tony Romo did, undrafted out of directional Illinois. We don't see that. We don't see a Tyrod Taylor who's on the bench for 4 years with the Ravens, and he becomes a free agent, and he gets signed to be a starter with another team. And people are like, who's Tyrod Taylor? That just doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, and as I said on the text chat, I think the NIL's changed that. I don't think Tony Romo would have stayed at Northern Illinois if we were in this current age. I think he would have ended up somewhere else at a big school, probably a Power 5 school, starting and would have been drafted. I don't think he would have been undrafted free agent. But to your point, there's Tanner McKee sitting on the Eagles bench who's looked pretty good. And maybe one day he could end up being a starter in this league. I'm interested to see in Tanner McKee, but we're not going to see him unless Jalen Hurts gets hurt. And so it's going to be interesting this preseason and into next year. Does somebody go try to trade for Tanner McKee at some point, thinking that he can actually play in this league? And it's the same with Joe Milton. We're going to talk about him later, but the Cowboys took a flyer on Joe Milton thinking that maybe this guy can play in the NFL. We just don't know. And sometimes guys never get their chance, Mike, because they sit on the bench behind some quarterback and they don't get their chance to ever show that they can play in this league.
Well, and then there's Hendon Hooker in Detroit, and the Lions will twist themselves into pretzels to tell everyone we still believe in him. But why do you keep signing other guys to play backup to Jared Goff, and why hasn't anyone tried to trade for him? There are plenty of guys like that, and Tanner McKee's a great example because, and part of the challenge now is it used to be not many guys became free agents at the quarterback position when a team was looking to go with someone else. There are more and more veterans every year now, and it started the year that Tom Brady went to Tampa and Phillip Rivers went to the Colts in 2020. That's when it changed, and every year now there are recognizable names with starting experience that end up jumping to other teams in free agency, which make it harder for the Tanner McKees, the Hendon Hookers, and the Joe Miltons of the world to truly be groomed to become the guy. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.